Welcome to Deep Sleep Stories, where imagination floats you softly into dreamland. Breathe, rest, and sleep.
Welcome to Deep Sleep Stories. Close your eyes if you wish, and take a slow, gentle breath in and out. Tonight you are about to drift away on an ocean breeze, lulled by the soft whispers of the tides. This story will carry you across a Polynesian reef, where warm waters shimmer in starlight and drums echo deep into the stillness of night. As you settle in, let your shoulders sink and your mind begin to float, releasing every concern. Notice how your breath becomes a soothing wave, rocking you toward rest. Now simply allow that gentle, comforting darkness to envelop you, carrying you to a place far away from all worry, tension, or noise. You are here in a moment of pure serenity, safe and relaxed. Let that sense of calm expand. With each breath, the day slips farther behind, and only the sweet invitation of sleep remains. Inhale, exhale, and feel your whole body soften, a wave of warmth settling across every muscle. Let go and prepare to journey into a peaceful realm of blue seas and swaying palms, lulled by nature's quiet music. Once upon a time, there was a small Polynesian island embraced by a tranquil coral reef. The lagoon that stretched between the reef and the island's shore shimmered with turquoise clarity, translucent enough to reveal schools of iridescent fish dancing in sunlit patterns. The island was lush with vibrant blossoms and feathery ferns, and the airy hush of palm fronds accompanied every breath of wind. There, a gentle soul named Mako lived in a snug wooden hut tucked into the soft green hillside. Every morning, Mako would rise before the sun to greet the sea with a smile as pink dawn light shimmered across the horizon. He found solace in the ocean's steadfast presence, the hush of the tide, and the warmth of the emerging sun upon his cheeks. Mako's days were calm and measured. He would often carry his small, handmade drum carved from coconut wood out to the sand. There, he would sit under a leaning palm tree, tapping out slow, rhythmic beats while breathing in the salty breeze. Early hours of the day brought him a special peace, something born from the hush of the island at rest. Birds stirred among the palm fronds, greeting the rising sun with gentle chirps. In the distance, the tide quietly lapped against the coral reef, a steady pulse that seemed to keep time with every beat of his drum. Mako would pause in his simple rhythm every now and again, letting the hush speak to him. Warm wind on his face, shimmering water before him. These gifts satisfied his heart. As midday arrived, Mako often strolled along the beach. The sand was fine and soft, a pale golden color that cradled his feet with each step. Some days, the sun played hide and seek behind puffy white clouds, and the brilliant light on the water softened into pearly tones. Other times, the sky shone a flawless expanse of blue, unbroken except for drifting gulls. Mako had a gentle fascination with the reef that lay just off the shore. He frequently waded out to it, water gliding around his ankles, the warmth of the lagoon embracing his legs in shimmering ripples. Looking down through the clear water, he would see clusters of corals in every shape: branching staghorn, rounded brain coral, fans swaying in the gentle current. Among these corals darted small fish, glints of silver and stripes of bright yellows and blues. Occasionally, a sea turtle passed by, gracefully paddling with unhurried movements. It was a world of color and harmony, a tapestry woven by time and tide. Some afternoons, Mako set aside his drum and paddled a small canoe to the edge of the reef. Here, the shallows met the open ocean, and the sun spilled down through crystalline water. With a simple carved paddle, he guided the canoe to drift, resting it upon the calm surface. Beneath the boat, tangles of coral reefs teemed with life, creating gentle flickers of color in the water's depths. Mako loved to lie back in the canoe, letting the gentle waves cradle him. He would gaze at the wide sky overhead, its passing clouds providing a slow-moving spectacle against the infinite expanse of blue. In those quiet moments, he thought of nothing except the hush of the world, the soft drum of his own heartbeat, and the calm of the lagoon beneath him. The sun, high above, warmed his skin, its heat countered by the cool breeze drifting across the water. When his eyes grew heavy in the midday hush, he would lift his head, dip his hands over the edge, and flick droplets of sea spray on his face, laughing softly at their refreshment. On the island, life moved with an unhurried rhythm in harmony with the tides. The local inhabitants rose with the sun and rested with the moon, living in tandem with nature's clock. They farmed small patches of taro and sweet potatoes, gathered tropical fruits from the forest, and fished among the reefs. In the afternoons, neighbors would gather under a communal shelter near the coconut grove, weaving baskets from palm fronds, or gently scraping coconuts to make sweet, velvety milk. Soft conversations floated along the warm breeze. Children braided flowers for each other's hair, bright hibiscus blooms and frangipani blossoms shimmering in the sun. Gentle laughter mixed with birdsong. Mako was often found among them, smiling quietly as he observed the contentment and companionship of the islanders. He would sometimes tap a quiet beat on the small drum in his lap, a mellow undercurrent to the murmur of easy conversation. When evening approached, a delicate transition would grace the air. Shadows lengthened along the golden beach, and the sky moved through shades of pale orange into a richer, fiery glow. The lagoon turned a dazzling mix of amber and gold, reflecting the colorful clouds overhead. Mako was fond of this hour, the time right before twilight, when everything seemed to pause in hushed expectation. Seabirds sailed across the horizon, heading to their nests on the cliffside. The breeze, once light and playful, became softer, carrying hints of the night's coolness. Mako would rest on a smooth rock outcropping near the shore, placing his drum on his knees. With slow, deliberate tap, steps, he'd create a rhythm that felt like a lullaby for the setting sun. The low, mellow percussion seemed to echo across the waves, gently inviting the night to arrive in peace. Once darkness descended, the sky over the island blossomed with stars. It was as if the ocean below reflected an ocean above, an expanse of glowing specks scattered across a velvety canvas. Marco often lit a small flame in a coconut shell lantern, placing it near the shore to guide his footsteps when he returned to his home. He found beauty in the afterglow of sunset, the horizon still warmed by faint gold and purple, while overhead the night sky deepened into a canopy of stars. Sometimes the moon rose large and silvery, illuminating the lagoon with a pale shimmer. The coral reef, even in the hush of night, seemed alive with subtle bioluminescence, a soft sparkle of underwater creatures flashing and fading in mysterious patterns. On a particular evening, Marco decided to take his drum and walk the length of the beach. The full moon was high, painting a white path across the water. A gentle tide lapped at his feet, like a tender greeting from the sea. Light breezes played with the palm fronds overhead, creating a soft rustle, almost a lullaby in itself. Marco paused every few steps, letting his gaze wander across the silent horizon. The vastness of the night and the rhythm of the ocean filled him with quiet wonder. He began to play a slow, steady pattern on his drum, each beat a soft pulse that melded with the lull of the waves. In his mind, he imagined distant ancestors crossing open waters in canoes guided by stars, their hearts beating with the same patient rhythm. The memories of these intrepid voyages lived on in every tide, carried along by the unbroken chain of island life. As the drumbeat danced across the moonlit beach, the sea seemed to respond. A gentle swell rose and fell, glinting with a silvery sheen. Footprints in the sand told stories of Mako's quiet journey under moonlight, and overhead, a shooting star raced across the sky. Night birds called once or twice, distant and ethereal, blending with the hush of the ocean. Marco felt as though he and the island were breathing together, sharing a singular, timeless moment. All urgency, all thought of what lay beyond this small world dissolved into the present. He continued along the curving shore until, in the distance, he saw a familiar cluster of torches flickering near a circle of trees. Soft rhythms echoed across the sand, another drum calling gently. He recognized the pattern and followed it, curiosity drawing him closer. Beneath a grand banyan tree, Marco discovered a small group of fellow islanders. They had gathered spontaneously in the moonlight, bringing their own instruments. Another drum, a bamboo flute, a hollowed log used as a resonator. Their voices mingled in hushed chants, weaving melodies like threads in a grand tapestry. Marco approached quietly, found a seat on a worn log near the circle, and joined with his own drum. His beats harmonized with the gentle pulse of the group, and soon an unspoken communion formed. Their music was soft, deliberate, like the measured roll of waves upon the shore. The banyan trees' leaves rustled overhead, illuminated by the glow of the moon, and occasionally a whisper of wind carried away the melodies, scattering them into the night sky. The night wore on in a slow, comforting drift. From time to time, someone would set aside their instrument and share a story, perhaps a tale of a fishing trip from long ago, or a memory of an elder who once guided the islanders through storms. Each anecdote carried a gentle moral or reminded everyone of the deep bond they all shared with the sea. Children, lulled by the steady rhythms and calm voices, dozed off against their parents. The hush of the reef beyond them, the pure, translucent water, mirrored the tranquility of the gathering. No one hurried. No one watched the clock. They stayed in that circle until the moon climbed toward its zenith, and only the softest embers remained in the torches. One by one, they drifted away to find their beds, leaving behind a quiet gratitude that lingered in the moonlit clearing. Before slipping back to his own hut, Mako knelt by the water's edge. The tide was gentle, and the phosphorescent creatures in the lagoon glowed faintly beneath the rippling surface, like a scattering of stars under the waves. He dipped his fingers in and felt the warmth of the sea. Grateful for the night's blessings, he closed his eyes, letting the hush sink into his heart. Then he rose and walked along a winding path toward the hillside, where his small home waited beneath the canopy of tall palms. Inside his simple, cozy hut, a woven mat and the faint glow of a palm frond lantern offered rest. Mako lay down, lulled by the distant hush of waves against the reef, drifting easily into dreams filled with gentle tides and starlit skies. Morning arrived as softly as a whisper. The sun peered over the horizon, painting the sea in pale rose and gold. The island began to stir. The calls of birds, the rustle of palm leaves, the distant sound of neighbors beginning their morning routines. Mako woke, stretched, and walked out onto the small porch of his hut. The air was sweet and cool, the sky promising a pristine day. He took in a slow breath, savoring the salt-tinged breeze, and then made his way down toward the beach to greet the morning. Wading a few steps into the water, he felt the warm shallows swirl around his ankles, and he bent low to splash his face. The cool droplets awakened him fully, leaving him refreshed and ready for another day in harmony with the reef. Today, Mako felt a gentle call to paddle out into the deeper lagoon. He gathered some fruit and fresh water, tucking them into a small basket, along with his drum. He pushed his canoe from the soft sand into the rippling shallows. The wooden hull glided effortlessly, leaving a small, swirling wake. Sunlight sparkled on the lagoon surface, and a mild breeze ruffled his hair. As he paddled toward the reef, he noticed the water changing color from shimmering jade to a richer turquoise, revealing the lively corals below. Curious fish darted around, occasionally popping to the surface with a quick flash. Farther out, the reef crested near the surface in places, and he could see the foam of gentle waves rolling over the coral edges. Eventually, he found a calm spot where the water was clear and placid. He let the canoe drift, swaying gently in the balanced interplay of currents. There, Mako set his paddle aside, balancing it carefully, and took up his drum. He began tapping a quiet, pensive beat, each note hanging in the salt-laced air. The ocean responded with a subtle rocking, as if urging him to continue. So he did, letting his music flow in soft, circular patterns of sound. The sun overhead felt warm, comforting, and the breeze caressed his cheeks. He closed his eyes for a moment, merging the drum's rhythm with the subtle heartbeat of the sea. In that lull, he felt every worry, every care, slip away like footprints washed by a gentle tide. Soon, a nudge against the canoe awakened him from his reverie. Opening his eyes, he glimpsed the dark shape of a sea turtle gliding past, curious about the visitor in its realm. The turtle's flippers moved languidly, stirring the water in a graceful dance. Mako smiled, rested his drum upon his lap, and leaned over to greet the inquisitive creature. For a moment, the turtle seemed to linger, peering up at him with its timeless eyes. Then it drifted off, coasting along the reef's edge, disappearing into the mosaic of coral and sunlight. Mako watched its journey until it vanished into the shimmering tapestry of blues and greens. He decided to slip into the water himself to greet the reef more intimately. Tying the canoe's small anchor to a piece of coral rubble where it would do no harm, he carefully eased into the gentle waters. Beneath the surface, he was greeted by a world of hushed wonder. The water was so clear that everything took on a luminous hue. Schools of striped fish flitted by, weaving through the coral branches. A soft swirl of tiny glass-like fish flickered in unison. Vibrant green and red corals contrasted against creamy white sands. Mako floated effortlessly, letting the slight currents move him over coral heads and into little underwater valleys. Each breath through his snorkel became a calming, repetitive melody, in and out, steady and soothing, as the living reef world drifted below. Diving a bit deeper, he spotted a cluster of curious reef sharks in the distance, small and harmless, patrolling the perimeter. Their movements were graceful, and they paid him little mind. Toward a patch of seagrass, a spotted ray glided along the sand, stirring tiny puffs in its wake. Mako felt no urgency, only the slow, dream-like pace of the reef, the colors, the gentle sway of life below, the filtered sunlight dancing on the sea floor. It all brought him a sense of profound peace. Eventually, with lungs signaling the need for fresh air, he ascended slowly, breaking the surface in a cascade of ripples, taking a calm, grateful breath of open air. He returned to the canoe, heart still awash in the beauty of his underwater reverie. Climbing aboard, he tipped out the last droplets clinging to his hair and gently patted the drum, relieved it was still safe and dry. By now, the sun stood near its zenith, warm but tempered by a steady breeze off the open ocean. Mako took a few bites of fruit, savoring the sweetness of ripe mango, letting each mouthful linger. Then he sipped from his container of fresh water, the cool liquid refreshing him deeply. He lay back, letting the canoe cradle him like a leaf on the tide, and closed his eyes for a moment. Seabirds circled overhead, occasionally calling out in shrill, distant voices. The gentle motion of the water lapped against the canoe's wooden sides. It was as if the lagoon itself was humming a lullaby, serene and constant, merging with Mako's own steady heartbeat. Time became fluid. Mako might have dozed, might have merely drifted in contentment. Eventually, he decided to return to shore, feeling the call of the island once again. Paddling softly, he made his way back over the reef, careful to avoid shallow spots where the coral rose close to the surface. The sunlight had shifted, casting elongated shapes upon the water, a sign that afternoon was well underway. The beach greeted him with a comforting hush, welcoming him home. Once the canoe was secured, Mako walked along the sand, spotting seashells polished by the waves. He picked one up and held it to his ear, listening briefly to the echo of the ocean within its spiral. Then he tucked the shell into his pouch, a small keepsake from the day's gentle adventure. In the late afternoon light, Mako joined a few neighbors under the communal shelter. They were weaving fresh baskets for an upcoming festival, an event to honor the reef and the bounty it provided. The festival was not a busy or crowded affair, but rather a peaceful gathering where music, dance, and gratitude guided everyone's hearts. As they worked, conversation drifted from topic to topic in a relaxed flow. Some talked about their hopes for abundant fishing. Others recalled stories of how their ancestors navigated by the stars. Mako shared a few words about his morning on the lagoon, describing the soothing hush under the water's surface. He spoke softly, content to let others spin the conversation, while he occasionally tapped a quiet rhythm on his drum, the gentle beats blending into the background of their talk. When the sun dipped lower, painting the horizon in a mosaic of gold, pink, and lavender, the group set aside their weaving. Someone proposed heading to the edge of the lagoon for an impromptu dance in anticipation of the festival. Slowly, they gathered near the water, where the sand was still warm from the day's sun. A few strummed ukuleles, their notes drifting on the balmy breeze. Another person tapped out a mild tempo on a hollow log. Mako added his drum's heartbeat to the mix, each note resonating with the quiet sigh of the waves. Soon, the group moved in unison, swaying with the music. Gentle steps in the sand, arms flowing like rolling tides. Every movement was an offering of gratitude to the sea. Their laughter was subdued, not raucous, a shared expression of joy that matched the calm environment. As twilight grew, the dancers slowed, enthralled by the sky's transformation. Stars began to peek through, twinkling faintly at first, then growing more pronounced against the darkening canvas. The sound of the drum softened until it was just a whisper. Some took a seat on the sand, quietly reflecting as the first bright stars shimmered overhead. The ocean glowed with reflected starlight, and all sense of hurry disappeared. Time felt more like a companion than a constraint, a gentle presence allowing them to explore the beauty unfolding in each moment. After a while, the group dispersed. Some returned to their huts to prepare simple suppers of fish, coconut rice, and breadfruit. Others wandered along the water, letting the light of the newly risen moon guide them. Mako decided to stay at the water's edge for a moment longer. He gazed across the lagoon, noticing how the coral reef just beneath the surface caught small glints of moonlight. He listened to the gentle hush of waves, a steady reassurance that life on this island was cradled in tranquility. Standing there, he felt an immense closeness to the reef and its rhythms, each tide a small miracle that gave and received in balanced harmony. As night settled in, he gently made his way home, guided by the lantern flickering in the distance near his hut. Once inside, the breeze through the windows carried the faint scent of jasmine and the distant echo of waves. Mako lit a single, low-burning lamp, enough to see his few belongings: woven mats, shells, and a small pile of driftwood carvings he'd been working on. He set his drum to one side and placed a fresh flower near it, a simple gesture of thanks for the day. The hush in the hut was comforting, inviting him to wind down, to rest and renew. The quiet serenity was like a soft blanket draped across his shoulders. He prepared a simple dinner of plantains and coconut shavings. The flavors, mild and sweet, satisfied his hunger without weighing him down. Afterward, he lay on his mat, feeling the gentle support beneath him, letting his muscles relax fully. In the distance, the ocean's lullaby persisted. Each wave's tumble echoed along the shore. Mako closed his eyes, thoughts drifting like clouds across the sky. The tranquility of the island lulled him into a state of complete peace. In his half-dream, he saw images of fish darting between corals, moonlight dancing on the water, and star-filled skies arching over the lagoon. These comforting sights floated him further into rest, guiding him gently into sleep. The next day arrived with a similar calm, and each day seemed to blend with the next, forming a slow river of peaceful time. The festival was set for the evening of a new moon, which was still a few days away. People continued weaving, practicing gentle dances and gathering foods. Mako spent his mornings by the reef, offering his soft drum rhythms to the sea. Occasionally, dolphins appeared near the outer edge, their sleek bodies cutting through the turquoise water as if answering his silent calls. He found such joy in these quiet encounters, allowing each experience to unfold naturally. At last, the day of the festival came. As evening approached, everyone gathered near a clearing that overlooked the lagoon. Torches lined the perimeter, casting a warm glow that mingled with the final light of sunset. A long, low table displayed the island's harvest: tropical fruits, grilled fish, fragrant taro dishes, and bowls of coconut milk. Flower garlands adorned every surface, their perfume rising in the night air. The entire community was present, each person wearing colorful prints or freshly woven leis. Children's faces gleamed with excitement as they peered around at the festivities. Yet even amidst their anticipation, the atmosphere remained serene, as if the island's spirit guided everyone to move gently, without haste. Marco joined the musicians at the front. Some held drums similar to his, others cradled ukuleles or bamboo pipes. Quietly, they began a procession of soft, melodic songs, each composition a tribute to the sea's life-giving essence. The music wove seamlessly with the hush of the lagoon. After a while, dancers stepped forward, weaving their hands and arms in graceful arcs, telling the story of journeys across open water and the harmony between people and nature. Marco's drumbeat underscored their performance, a gentle, steady presence, like a heartbeat. Sometimes he closed his eyes while playing, letting the music come from within, guided by an unseen bond with the reef and the island breeze. When the new moon finally appeared, it was just a delicate sliver in the sky, joined by the faint glow of countless stars. The torches seemed brighter in the darkness, and the festival found a hushed stillness, as though everyone paused to listen to the whisper of creation itself. Marco set his drum aside, content to savor the final moments of this communal gathering. He gazed at the lagoon, now a dark mirror reflecting the pinpoints of light overhead, and felt the day's warmth mingled with the gentle coolness of night. People drifted into small groups, conversing softly, sharing cups of fruit drinks, nibbling on sweet cakes made from breadfruit and honey. Children dozed in their parents' arms, lulled by the night's calm. In time, the festival drew to a close with a communal prayer, a simple expression of gratitude to the reef, the ocean, and the island that supported them all. Then, one by one, everyone made their way to their huts, guided by moonlight or small lanterns. Marco lingered a bit, walking slowly down to the shore, letting the spent waves wash over his feet. He pressed a hand to his chest, feeling his slow, steady heartbeat, a companion to the perpetual hush of the tide. With a final glance at the quiet expanse of water, he turned and climbed the gently sloping path back up to his hut. Inside, he lay down with a contented sigh, the soft mat beneath him comforting every muscle. Outside, the island settled into peaceful slumber, and the faint echo of drums and ukuleles persisted in the breeze, offering a lullaby to all who were ready to dream. He slipped into dreams easily, carried by images of bright corals, drifting clouds, and the soft shimmer of moonlight on water. In his dream, it was as though the reef sang back to him, the coral polyps and schools of fish, each contributing their own gentle hum to the underwater choir. Overhead, stars danced in patterns reminiscent of the islanders' steps. The night passed like a tender wave, rolling softly, ensuring that when morning came again, all would greet it with renewed warmth and gratitude. As time went on, the island's days blended together in a tapestry of sun, sea, and serenity. Mako's bond with the reef remained at the heart of his contentment, a peaceful anchor in a world guided by the natural pace of tides and stars. Whether tapping his drum at dawn, swimming amid the fish at midday, or drifting in a canoe beneath the moon, he carried within him an unwavering stillness, a gentle connection with all that surrounded him. Even when occasional storms blew in from the open ocean, dark clouds stretching across the horizon, thunder rumbling across the lagoon, the island endured, gently bowing to the wind before rising anew when the calm returned. In those moments, Mako would remain in his hut, quietly drumming a steady rhythm, believing that each reverberation offered solace and courage to every creature that sheltered in the forest or in coral caves below the waves. And once the storm clouds rolled away, the reef shone brighter than ever, cleansed by fresh rain, the fish darting about in shimmering arcs of color. With each new sunrise, life resumed, humming with warmth and gentleness. Eventually, the broader ocean beyond the reef called some travelers away, as is often the case in island life. But Mako stayed, serenely content to cultivate peace in the place he knew so well. His days filled with small tasks, harvesting fruits, sharing meals with neighbors, and practicing new rhythms on his drum. Each time the sun settled into the horizon, a hush of gratitude filled his mind, an acknowledgement that every day here was a gift. Night after night, the starlight bestowed a quiet blessing upon the reef and upon him. In that quiet paradise, people rested well, lulled by the dependable hush of the waves and the gentle atmosphere of the island. Even visitors who arrived from distant shores felt the island's soothing spirit. It seemed that as soon as one stepped onto the sand, tension faded like a receding tide. In the presence of such natural beauty and such soft rhythms, worry simply had no place to dwell. All that remained was a sense of calm, of belonging to something greater, yet infinitely welcoming. The reef, the lagoon, the palms, and the stars, each a part of a vast tapestry of serenity. Now, as night envelopes the island once more, the ocean's lullaby grows softer, as if blending with the rhythm of restful hearts. The corals glow faintly in the deep, and the sea breeze carries whispers of peace across the shoreline. Soon, all who dwell here will find their way to quiet cots, hammocks, or woven mats on cool floors. Lanterns will be extinguished, and only the gentle hush of lapping water remains. Overhead, a universe of brilliant stars will watch, a night sky spun of infinite wonders. And in that tender space between waking and dreaming, the drum's soft pulse will echo, a reminder that life is a peaceful dance, guided by the gentle flow of breath and tide. Let each breath now grow slower. Let each thought float away, like driftwood carried by the current. The reef is still there, pulsing with quiet life beneath a glowing sea. The island breeze drifts through the palms, whispering a gentle invitation to surrender to rest. Notice your shoulders, your arms, your hands. Let them grow heavy and warm. Feel your legs, from your hips to your ankles, gently relaxing, releasing. The day's journey is complete, and the night beckons you to drift deeper into slumber. The hush of the ocean is your guide. Each wave that washes ashore lulls you further into safety and calm. Let your eyelids grow soft, the final glimmers of wakefulness fading away. The rhythm of nature surrounds you and supports you. Rest in that gentle sway, imagining the moonlight dancing on the lagoon, the coral reef serenading you in the distance, the faint echo of a drum guiding you into peaceful dreams. Good night, dear traveler. Sleep well, carried by the ocean's lullaby and the gentle heartbeat of the island's drums. May your dreams be as soft as the tide and as bright as the stars on the water's surface. Here, in this quiet realm, rest cradles you effortlessly, and the soothing hush of the Polynesian reef leads you ever deeper into the warm embrace of sleep. Good night.